Hello, mortals. How are you doing today? So I am finally back recording after more than a few months. There was a potential project that I was a part of that I was going to be recording one of the main characters on, but that fell through because the person leading the thing ended up not realizing how much effort it was going to actually be, so they ended up dropping it altogether. And honestly, until today, I didn't realize I was weirdly grieving that, because I was so I convinced myself so much that it was going to happen. But that's neither here nor there. This is just an explanation of why this episode and last episode are like 4 months apart. But the point of this episode, if you're looking at the screen, you already know, but for those who are not, I have this weird document on the screen called Base Mechanics. Oh, what is that? Well, you see, within that time that I have not been recording, I have actually been working on a TTRPG. Literally just off a whim. I just randomly decided to do it, and it's just been sticking. At this point, I plan on sticking with the whole way through and eventually making a book. Probably going to make it free, if not extremely cheap, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because for now, it's still in the concept phases. But with that, I plan on, because I need to have like actual content for my Patreon, I need to actually, make stuff. So I'm going to be doing short little videos just going over some of the document pages, the classes, the abilities, the spells, stuff like that. But today, to branch that, instead of just, starting that on my Patreon, where no one's going to see it because I don't have anyone on my Patreon. Obviously, no one wants to give me money yet. I'm not entertaining enough. But I'm going to be uploading this one, which is going to easily probably be the longest one. Which is just going over all the base mechanics that I have right now, explaining what they are and how they work and all that stuff. It's going to be extremely straightforward. It's going to be simple. I'm just going to be basically going down each category of thing and just explaining my thought process or what it actually is, and that's pretty much it. I'm imagining it's going to take a bit of time. Like I said, it's probably going to be the longest one that I do, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So this game, it's going to be a 2d10 system. So for those who don't know, one of the things with the system is what you use to roll. So the most common system is obviously the D20 system, where you basically roll a D20 for every single roll. And mine, I wanted to do a 2d10 because I wanted to limit the chances of critical failures. Because with the D20, while it is a great dice, it has a 5% chance to land on any number, and that includes the 1. But with a 2d10, that drops from 5% all the way down to 1% for both of the dice hitting a 1. It's not the biggest change, but I prefer it this way because critical fails suck. Well, they don't suck, they just feel really bad when they happen, so I want to minimize that as much as possible. I could have just taken them out of my game, but no, I wanted to keep them in. I just want to minimize how often they happen. And there's only so many ways you can do that with dice. But this is what I decided on. It's not the biggest change in the world, but it is a change that some people care a lot about, and I kind of understand, but not really. But yeah, 2d10 system, and underneath the 2d10 to hit, I have two of my stats, which is Daphnis and Might. So one of the main things that I wanted to do with my system was try to change the wording on a lot of common uses like dexterity and strength, for no other reason than I wanted to branch away from D&D a little bit more. And it's not the biggest reason that I am using might instead of strength. Ooh, excuse me, sorry. But I wanted to pull away from people's normal thinking of how they think the stats work. Because I could have just went with Dex and I could have just went with Strength. But those have implications and thought processes that people are attached to because of D&D and other tabletop systems. So I wanted to pull away from that a little bit and have people think in a different way for my stats. And one of the best ways to one of the best ways to help with that is to just change the name. So that's what I ended up doing. A secondary thing, which I don't believe I have on the base mechanics themselves, or the base mechanic document itself, is my other two core attribute stats, which is Arcana and Faith. Which Arcana is just arcane magics, and obviously Faith is divine/religious magic. And you may realize there's no intelligence, there's no charisma, there's no wisdom, and that is entirely intentional because I want to break away those mind attributes out of my system for no other reason than I want people to feel more freely to be able to role play a character without relying too much on the stats. And by that I mean, obviously, the easiest example is the dumb barbarian, because for barbarians, one of the main stats that you dump is intelligence. So that makes a lot of people just play barbarians really, really, really stupid because they always have low intelligence. And that was one of the things I wanted to break away from, is having it so that when you play a barbarian, you don't feel obligated to play them stupid because they have no intelligence. Of course, this also goes in the other direction too, where if you're playing a wizard, you obviously have high intelligence, so you can't play them stupidly. You can drop their charisma or their wisdom to make them unwise or very vulgar, but they're still always going to be They're still going to be that part of the brain that makes you go, well, I can't be stupid with them because they're really smart. With my system, I didn't want that. If you want to play a really, really dumb wizard, I wanted that to be a possibility for you without having to worry about what the stats say. And that is why I don't have any of the main why none of my attributes are the main mind stats in D&D and Pathfinder, for example. And that is one of the things that I really want to do with this system, is give you more freedom to role play the character you want to play rather than what your sheet says you should play. Because obviously a lot of people, it's not the biggest deal that they don't play what their stats say, but then some people get really fucking ornery about it and it makes me so mad. But that's enough of that. The 4 attributes that I have are Might, Daphnis, Arcana, and Faith. Now, I also have sub-attributes too. That being Speed, which is your movement speed. Your Dodge, which is what number someone has to hit in order to actually land an attack on you. But then I have 2 special attributes for this system specifically. The first one being Brace. Now, Brace is a damage mitigation stat. Not everyone is going to get it or even worry about it. It's basically a once around armor buff. So let's say you, after all the calculations with your armor and blah blah blah, you're going to take 10 damage, but you have a brace of 15. You can activate your brace for that hit, and you will now take 0 damage. However, you can only activate Brace once a round. So while it is a damage mitigation ability, you have to think about it carefully, because you could use it for something not that important, and then get hit with 30 damage and be like, Mel, I wish I would have taken that 10 damage over that 30. But here we are. And the only reason that's even in here is because I just randomly thought of the idea, and I liked it, and it's stayed ever since, and it's now entirely ingrained into the system as a whole. And the other sub-attribute that I have is advantage. And advantage is what I use for my initiative system. Because it's not so much that I don't like what initiative is in D&D and Pathfinder. It's more so that I wanted to do something different with it. Something that was more simple and straightforward. So the way advantage works is everyone has a base advantage of 10. And depending on bonuses and debuffs, the number can go up and down. And basically, whatever your advantage is where you are in the initiative order. So if you have an initiative of 13, but an enemy has an initiative of 15, they will go before you. And the only reason I did it this way specifically is because, once again, I wanted it to be really, really, really simple to do an initiative order. I wanted it to just be snappy as soon as possible. Still, depending on how many characters and entities are on the board, it's still going to be really slow to set up, unfortunately. But for the most part, every player is going to always be in the same spot, so that'll help with the initiative setup as a whole, and it goes quicker because the GM doesn't have to worry about everyone rolling for initiative either. Which I know a lot of people... I also love rolling, but it's such a slog sometimes. It makes it such a bitch. It also is such a little gimmicky thing for people to try to just do. Just try to, like, always make sure they're always trying to go first, but it's never a guarantee, and they get really salty when they're not, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, I wanted it to be really simple. Also, originally, I was planning on having feats so that if you had advantage ties, you would take the feat and then you would get an advantage, and you would go before them. But now I'm just going to do it's player's choice. So if you have the same advantage as an enemy target, you can choose if you want to go before or after that target that has the same advantage as you. Or enemy, not target. I guess target also works too, but that's the thing with the advantage, because to help make it more simple rather than complicate it, I'm just going to make it player's choice on what they want to do with the initiative order if they have a tie, rather than trying to make something complicated for it. Yeah, those are my 8 attributes over all the 4 core ones and the 4 sub ones. It's funny because originally I didn't plan on having the other ones be sub attributes. They were just kind of important stats, and then I eventually just ended up calling them sub attributes, and it's just kind of stuck around ever since. And with that, I guess we'll move on to this next little tidbit, which... Oh, wait, no, sorry, before that. There's 2 things that I forgot with might and daftness. So, obviously, one of the main things with might and daftness, and this also applies a little bit to Arcana and Faith as well. I just haven't typed it out yet. I should actually probably do that. No, I'll do it later. Daftness for most targeting abilities... targeting actions, you're going to use your daftness to hit. So whatever your daftness is, you're going to add that to whatever roll you end up getting. Pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. And then on the other hand, your might is going to be your the additive that is added to your weapon damage. And that reminds me of another thing. So it's going to be weird to say this, but the to hit and the saves for this system currently, I think I'm going to keep this the entire time, but we'll see. But The main thing about it is the 2 hits and the saves are going to be really, really low. I think at a max, you can get like a plus 9 or 10 to hit at the most, and you have to really, really try for that too. It's not just a thing that you're gonna just end up doing. Actually, I guess that's kind of a lie, but point being, the 2 hit is going to be really, really low. It's not going to get to, you have to try to get like a 40 some to hit. No. The highest target you're probably going to be trying to hit is a 25. But then with the damage is going to get really, really ridiculous. Like, I don't think it's this way anymore. I think I changed it. It might be higher now. No, it's definitely higher. But when I was first working on the numbers, the highest damage I could have done was like a 96 at maximum damage. Maximum potential. So while the 2 hit is going to stay relatively low and reasonable, the damages are going to be able to get ridiculous if you invest into it. Or you get lucky. Either or. Yes. Now I am done with the attributes, and now we will move on to the other things, which next is MP. So with every system, there's a thing with tracking resources, and originally I was thinking about doing spells or spell slots. But then the more I thought about it, the more I didn't really like the idea of spell slots, and I wanted more variety, and I wanted a easy way to universally track or be able to track limitations for abilities. So I ended up just doing an MP system, which I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy tracking MP. I understand that. Unfortunately, it's either going to have to be you're not going to want to play my game, or you're just going to have to be a thing that you're going to deal with, because almost every single class in my game uses MP, which influenced a lot about this game, because it became, with everyone using MP, it became extremely fast. It became a very high fantasy game, because basically everyone and everything has magic within them, and they still have some kind of magical potential within them. So magic is extremely, extremely, extremely common within the world that I am making for this TTRPG. And also, that is that's not updated anymore. So it says MP is recovered with short rest, long rest, potions, and medicines. So the potions and medicines part is true. I'm going to allow you to recover MP with potions and medicines. However, short rest and long rest are still a thing that recover it, but they're no longer called short rest and long rest. So it is now light rest and standard rest. And these are basically the same thing. They're just to help people who aren't from D&D understand the process of the wording better. Because short rest and long rest technically are self-explanatory within themselves, but it's I don't know. It's not that they're a bad wording. I just think a light rest and a standard rest are more transparent with what they're supposed to be. Which, if you have a different view for that, you might not agree with me. But others are like, "Oh no, I know exactly what you're talking about," and that's just why it's now for me. It's light rest, standard rest. But also on top of that, I also have 2 other kinds of rests. So there's a full day rest, and then there is downtime. An important thing about this game is downtime, because one of the main concepts for this game is having your backgrounds matter. And one of the best ways to have your backgrounds matter is to actually have stuff to do during downtime, when you're not going out and slaughtering monsters or defeating the evil wizard. And yeah, but yeah, MP is a relatively straightforward concept. You need MP to use spells, certain abilities, and whatnot. And because every class has MP at some level, I'm able to give an extra layer of balancing using MP costs and MP progressions and whatnot, which ended up helping a lot balancing wise. Granted, I'm still going to change a lot of that because it's still really early on, but the MP costs have helped a lot with that. Alright, next, HP. HP is extremely straightforward. It's in almost every single game that you have ever played. And yeah, HP is HP. It's your hit points. Which, as with MP, there's no attribute that's going to influence, and there's no talent that's going to influence. So, with the whole changing the words things, I changed skills to talents. And that was just a personal choice. There was no, like, deeper meaning behind it. I just wanted to change it away from skills, so I changed it to talents, and that's just it. But yeah, with both HP and MP, I wanted them to be completely independent stats. There are certain items and equipments that can still affect it, but for the most part, they're basically fully independent. You either do or you don't get HP or MP. Obviously, you can still use other things to recover them, but you can't buff them using talents, attributes, or anything else. They are what they are, and they're going to be what they're going to be. You have to plan that in advance. Oh, but I changed it with HP. So, I have the whole standard rest, full rest, and downtime for this. Oh, but I also have that too. I have this thing called prayers, which originally I was going to have a system around prayers, but now it's basically just a religious role now, for the most part. Yeah, but you'll notice I didn't say that it recovers with light rest, which you do not recover HP with light rest. And the main reason I did that is if you're doing like a dungeon crawl or like an advanced thing, the pressure of your HP falling is still a threat. And that is pretty much the only reason there is no recovery with with a light rest, is to help allow GMs to help put a little bit extra pressure onto their players. Which, yeah, pretty straightforward. And then, obviously, you can also recover with spells, you can recover HP with potions, and you can recover HP with medicines. And then I have the entire unconscious 0 HP thing. So, with my game, one of the things I want to do is, because I want a more casual experience rather than the realisticness that D&D and Pathfinder have, or emulate with their systems. And by that, I mean... like it says, when you become 0 HP, become unconscious. When healed from 0 HP, character can begin making 3d8 checks to become conscious again. There is no required. This is not required, and the player can choose to stay unconscious. There's no death rolls. There's nothing like that outside of specific examples or a choice that you decide you want your character to die for a dramatic moment. And that is the main thing that I wanted to do, and it's a hard thing that I want to balance too, because I don't want to just put everything on the GM and be like, oh yeah, while you're not supposed to kill your players, you are supposed to kill your players. And it's more of a thing there. It's like, if you're fighting random bandits on the road, and your party happens to get total party knockout, you no longer have to worry about like actually killing everyone, because this system, the way that I have the rule set, is they just don't die. However, if they're in a battle against like the general of the evil wizard, and they get a TPKO or a TPK, then yeah, the players die, which is unfortunate, but I suppose there's also like things you do where it's like, it's not so much that all the players die, like something happens, like they get captured or they get a scene moved, stuff like that. I want the dying to be extremely relaxed and more of a player choice rather than, well, shit, I rolled bad, so I guess I died. But of course, I still have options for that too. Which there's the thing called a TPKO encounter and lethal encounter. So a TPKO encounter is total party knockout, which means that even if all the party members go to 0 HP, no one dies. It's just everyone gets knocked the fuck out. They might take a penalty, but nothing major happens. But then you have a lethal encounter, which this can be specified by the GM beforehand so that players know, oh shit, we shouldn't be fucking around with this, which has a rule set, which is when you fall to when a character falls to 0 HP a second time and every additional time after, they gain an injury. And in the lethal encounter, one of those injuries, if you roll high, because you're rolling a 2d8 for the injury, if you roll a 40, it's a death roll. Your character dies. Which, if you're players and you don't want to worry about rolling death, you can just use the normal TPKO encounters, which does not have that. On that note, one of the things with the rolls when you're downed is injuries. So especially with the TPKO encounters, there's a very high chance that you only get an aesthetic injury, which is just scarring, basically. Which I believe I wrote these. Yes, I did write these down. An aesthetic injury is just no gameplay function. It's just like scars and whatnot. Like, there's no actual like gameplay change for this injury. But then you have stuff like a minor injury, which a minor injury lowers a random talent by 2. This is temporary and takes a week to recover. It's extremely straightforward, and I haven't figured it out yet, but doctors and medicine can help recover this quicker. Excuse me, sorry. Then we have the major injuries, which this lowers an attribute by 1 temporarily. And just like the minor injury, it takes a week to recover. And you can only recover 1 at a time with a major injury. You have to focus on healing 1 attribute at a time. Which, at first, it sounds really, really bad. But remember, one of the main things with my system is there's a literal mechanic for downtime. So you can, if something happens that you have like a minor or a major injury, you can have the party be like, hey, let's stay back in town for a couple of weeks. Let's all heal up and recover from this. Bada bing, bada boom, shit's good. Right? But then there is the other two, which is lethal injuries and crippling injuries. The lethal injury is a permanent -2 to a talent, and a crippling injury is a permanent -1 to a talent. Now, on here, I say they can't be fixed, but the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking of either A, making it a really hard check for a doctor character to fix the injury, and it's going to take a lot of time to fix. Because having a permanent minus to one of your stats honestly fucking sucks. And it's not so much that I don't want characters to not have any repercussions for getting injured or for like fucking up in a battle, but I don't. It's anti-fun when your character loses the ability to do what you built them for. And it's basically the same as just having your character die off at that point. And you're going to want to make a new character anyway. So at least this way, I don't want it to, and I don't want it to be a forced retirement for characters. Because a forced retirement is basically just saying the character's dead anyway, so. Yeah, that is how my injury system works as a whole. And yeah, there's some other rulings that I've had on the screen that you could, if you're watching the video, you can pause and you can read them yourself. But I don't think I really need to go over them, because they're pretty straightforward in what they say and what they mean and stuff like that. But then we go on to the next category, which is a fun one for a lot of people, which is damage types. So my damage types are extremely straightforward. So there is what's called base damage, which is just damage. This is uncategorized damage, which is, instead of just calling it as a damage or uncategorized, it's just base damage. There's no type, it's just damage. Pretty straightforward. Then we have the 3 physical types of damage, which is piercing, bludgeoning, and slashing. Everyone is probably familiar with that, as well as everyone's probably familiar with the first 3 elemental types, fire, ice, and lightning. These are the 3 main elemental types of damage. There's also a 4th with acid, but it's less common than the other 3. But it is still technically one of the main elemental types. Then I have a fun one, which is sound. Sound is a rather uncommon damage type, and its specific purpose is to help damage golem or automatons, constructs, and objects, basically. Which later on we'll get to what that means, but for now just know that if you want to damage constructs or objects, you need sound damage. Then we have the 2 faith-based damages, which is holy and sin. Now I know what you're thinking. Sin is a stupid name, but I counter you with unholy is also a really stupid name. So, because I didn't want to just say unholy damage, I changed it to sin damage. Which, I mean, holy, sin, they're opposites, so I can understand if you don't like it, but I prefer it over unholy. Ugh. Then next we have everyone's favorite, my equivalent of force, which is void, which is void cannot be resistant. There is no resistances to void damage, which makes it a rather uncommon type, but also, oh no, it can't be resisted, guys. It's so broken. It's not. People just want to make force way stronger than it actually is. But yeah, and then I have a damage type, an additional damage type, which this true damage can be tacked on with any other damage type except for void. Void and true damage cannot go together. But yeah, you can have true damage just ignores armor. So the way I have damage works is whatever you roll for your damage roll, you subtract that with their target's armor, and if it's a positive number, you deal that much damage to their HP. So if you roll a 30 and they have an armor of 20, you deal 10 damage. But if you roll 20 damage and they have an armor of 30, you don't deal any damage to them. Extremely straightforward and simple. And true damage allows you to just say ignore armor together. So if you deal 30 damage, they have 20 armor, but it's true damage, you just deal 30 damage. You don't have to worry about their armor at all, obviously. And the reason these can be tacked on to the other damage types is because while true damage ignores armor. It does not ignore resistances. So if you deal lightning damage to something that's immune to lightning, even if it's true damage, you don't deal any damage to something that is immune to lightning, even if it's true, because they're immune to it. That's the point. And that's pretty much it for the damages. Damage is super, super straightforward. And it's just more of saying, hey, this is what I have for my damages. Next, the other fun one is debuffs. Everyone's favorite, right? So debuffs, these ones have been constantly changing as I've been as I've been moving around with stuff. I don't know if this is going to be what they finally do or not, or even if this is going to be the final amount or not. But starting off, just going from the top to the bottom, we have starting off with fatigue. And the way that I am having fatigue work in my system is damage dealt is reduced by half. So whatever damage you do while fatigued, it's half. So it really discourages you from wanting to push yourself past your limits. You still can do it. It's just really stupid of you to do it. And this is a universal thing for all damage. Even with your spells, your fireball will deal half of what it's supposed to do. So if your fireball rolls 30 damage, you actually have only done 15. And that's just it with fatigue. It's super simple. It's just it sounds harsh, but that's the point. It's supposed to be harsh. You're not supposed to want to have your character be fatigued. And on top of that, this is very recently, I didn't know what I wanted to do with Exhausted, but I recently, like literally yesterday, figured out what I wanted to do, which Exhausted is not a stronger version of Fatigue. Fatigue and Exhausted are two separate stats that can stack together. And Exhausted cannot heal HP or MP with rest. Takes 1 rake to recover. So if your stupid ass decides to continue to push after being fatigued, you become exhausted and and now you're extremely fucked. And that's pretty self-explanatory. Fatigue and exhausted are just mechanics to allow you to is to try to force players to take their time and not just go. It's something to calm players down and make them take a step back, basically. Then we have actually going to the combat actual stats, which starting off with daze. A -4 to hit, movement is halved, which I'm not sure about the movement halved part anymore. I might change that and just keep the -4 to hit. The half movement seems a little strong. Obviously, also, a lot of these I don't have the recovery part of it also, and that's because I have not solidified with a lot of these what the recovery part is going to be, or even how it works. I imagine most of these are going to be really simple and straightforward, just a simple DC that you do during your turn, but I haven't decided yet, so keep that in mind. But then we have stunned, unable to act but not helpless, which that one's pretty self-explanatory. If you get stunned, you can't do anything, but you're also not vulnerable or helpless. Then we have unconscious, which extremely straightforward. You're forced prone and considered helpless. And then we have explaining prone and helpless next. So prone is flat on the ground, removes the dodge bonus. So you no longer can dodge as well if you are prone. Which originally I wasn't going to have any thing for prone, but the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, no, I want something from prone. I thought about having an increase in attack while you're prone, but I decided against it and just said you remove your dodge bonus instead. But then we go into helpless, which the main thing of helplessness is it allows you to become coup de grace. Which coup de grace, I have it written down. I'm currently thinking about keeping it in the system, but I keep fighting myself on if I really want to keep it in the system. But for the moment, I'm going to keep coup de grace in. because as a player I like them, but then that also means that GMs also have that availability to coup de grace players, and that's the only reason I'm iffy about it. Next, everyone's favorite. Paralyzed, unable to act, and become helpless. So this is a similar state to being unconscious. However, with paralyzed, you are not forced prone. Pretty straightforward. Simpleness. Then we have blindness. Unable to perceive visually. -20 to attack rolls and -5 to dodge. So an attack roll, obviously, roll bad. You don't want to be blinded. It sucks ass, which I think the -20 is a bit much, honestly. I'm probably going to... Actually, no. I am going to reduce that. Let's make it a minus... Let's say -8 instead. 20 is harsh. 20 is really harsh. So we'll make it a -10, or -8 instead. Still harsh, but way more reasonable than a -20. And then a -5 to dodge. Then I have deafness, which makes it so you're unable to perceive sounds. And it gives you a -5 to dodge, which I'm also going to lower that too. I made it -5 because I wanted it... oops, I knocked my mic. I wanted it to be similar to blindness in a way, but... And I wanted it to have an actual penalty. But 5 is harsh. I mean, honestly, even a 3 is harsh. Let's make it a 2. Because after all, a blindness and deafness can be stacked together, so I can't make it... You don't want to make it too harsh on people. And this is another reason why I didn't want... I'm thinking about changing days to not have half movement. Because I have entangled movement as half. It's just a worse version of days at this point, because days has the -4 to attack. No, I'm going to take out the -1/2 speed. And just have days be a -4 to attack, and entangled be a heave movement. So that these are separate stats and the separate conditions. God, I keep knocking my mic by moving my hands a lot. I'm hitting things. And next is a debuff, which isn't really a debuff in itself, but it is a condition forced upon you, which is knockback. Forced to move away from source in a straight line, which it's just knockback. It's simple, it's straightforward. Technically not a debuff, but it's still a negative condition, basically. And that's why I have it in the debuff section. And the next we have fear. Fear, I don't have that many with it, and I keep thinking about like taking it out, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's fine. It's already a rare condition, and it could still be fun for certain encounters to have. So yeah, fear is just you run away from the source that fears you. Pretty straightforward, and fear really doesn't last that long. I think at the most it lasts 4 rounds. At the most, I need to say. On average, it's going to be 1 or 2 rounds. But yeah, fear. Yeah. Then we have the dot effects, the dot debuffs. Starting with poison, takes true damage every round for 10 rounds. And poison is extremely simple. And while it is true damage, it is true poison damage. And that is a specific thing because certain characters have resistances to poison and or immunities to poison, as well as certain, if there's going to be monsters. I haven't made all the monsters yet, or even that many, but I know I'm going to have some that are going to be immune to poisons and toxins and whatnot. Speaking of, we have greater poison as well, which this is the same thing. They take true damage every turn, or sorry. They do not take true damage every turn. My fault. They take true damage every hour for 24 hours. And they also cannot recover HP from resting. So this is a more out of combat thing. And on that same note, so are toxins. Toxin, take true damage every hour until cured. And unlike greater poison, toxin does not have a time limit and will continue to happen until you are cured. So it could be a death sentence if you don't have the proper things to go about it. Cannot recover HP from resting, spells, or poisons. So yeah, it removes the just wait it out thing and forces you to have to try to fix the problem. Otherwise, your characters are going to just die. Which is not going to be that hard, but you actually have to invest time into actually doing it, is the thing. And then finally is Bleed. Take true damage every round until healed magically or naturally. Which basically means you will take Bleed every round until you rest or are healed. Simple as that. And that's it for the debuffs. I'm enjoying the debuffs. And I keep thinking about, maybe I should add more, but I'm like, no, I have more than enough. That's a lot of debuffs. The next is the Coup de Grace. Coup de Grace, full round action, unable to miss unless blind, which I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but deals critical damage. And I have here maybe feat to deal max damage. I still haven't decided on that yet, but basically, Coup de Grace is just an auto crit. So, man. When you use a target with 0 HP, immediately kills them. Just no if, no ands, no buts. You just die if you get Coup de Grace when you're at 0 HP. If you get Coup de Grace while paralyzed, you don't die, but you do just take all that damage. Creatures within range with a melee weapon can have a free attack of opportunity. Deals. Oh, that's why. that's. I'm looking at this. I'm like, why is it built that? Because I put the wrong thing. I put of instead of if, so it really confused my brain. If attack deals damage, the Coup de Grace just fails. So you can, if you're worried about an ally getting just immediately just off the senses, and you have attack of opportunity, you can just stay by them and just keep hitting them, or just be a presence to help not let them do that. And then I have this last thing, not recommended for GMs to use unless after level 8 of creatures. God damn, why do I keep using of wrongly? And creature is murderous, which murderous is just going to be a mindset that I'm going to have as a stat for creature encounters. Which murderous just means that they don't give a fuck, they're going to just try to kill you, basically. And that's Coup de Grace, and you can see why I'm still like iffy on it. Especially since I want my game to be extremely casual and not really the threat of death looming over every corner. So, we'll see if I keep it at the end. And the next, we have the actual explanation of rests. So, a light rest is 1 to 3 hours. It recovers MP, disable certain effects, able to... Oh, that's also another thing. It says able to activate 1 prayer or ritual. Don't have that anymore. Prayers and rituals are no longer a thing. Which originally they were just going to be like combat buffs, but I realized I already have too much going on with my system, so I just took them out. I did recycle them a little bit into a class, but we'll get to that later. You can craft certain items and gather certain items, which is just like within an area you can do certain things. Then you have a standard rest. This recovers all your MP and recovers a small amount of HP. Disable certain effects, and once again, prayers and rituals no longer a thing. Then a full rest recovers all MP, recovers a good amount of HP, disable certain effects, and able to craft certain items and gather certain items. And then there is downtime. Oh wait, I didn't say how long everything takes. Light rest is 1 to 3 hours. The standard rest is 6 to 10 hours. And a full rest is 1 to 3 full days. Then we have downtime, which is between 1 week and 3 months. Now, obviously, this is just averaging. or a kind of average range. If you want to have a full year of downtime, you can obviously do that. You'll just have to keep track of what everyone's doing and how long everything is taking, stuff like that. But during a downtime, you fully recover all of your stats. And almost all effects are dispelled, obviously. And you can pretty much gather or craft any item during downtime, with as long as it's within range of your location. You know. And that's it for the rest. You know, nothing too special, but they are a bit different, and they are a standard set for my game. So I wanted to make them both simple, but actually pretty fucking useful. And next on the chopping block, we have the actions. No, we can't spoil that yet. So, actions, there's a thing of just pretty much having 5 basic actions, which starting obviously with free action. While free actions can only be used once per turn, can use as many different free actions as you want. So let's say you have an ability, I don't think I have this, but you have an ability to make an attack as a free action. You can only use that ability once a turn. But you can use a different one. Like, let's say you have movement for free as a free ability. You can use the free attack and then free movement, because these are 2 different free actions. But you can't use either of those a second time, which I believe is relatively standard for free actions, but I could be wrong about that, which is why I'm explaining it like this. But then obviously we have bonus action, which bonus action is just an extra action that is specified as bonus action. It's not any other kind. And then intimidate, immediate action. An immediate action can be used at any point during a round. So it can be used after an attack, before an attack, after an enemy moves, before an enemy moves, at any time. Even on your own turn, you can use an immediate action at any time during a round. Pretty self-explanatory. And then the most standard of standard actions, standard action. Unless specified, any action you take, attacking, casting spells, using a class ability, etc., is a standard action. Which, yeah, standard action is just a standard action. It's just the action of your turn. That's the point of it. You only get one, and usually it ends your turn right afterwards. Obviously not always, because there's also the move action, which I do need to specify with standard action too. Let me do that really quick. Can move as a standard action. Because obviously that's just a thing you can do. Is move action allows creatures or objects to move up to their speed. Pretty straightforward. Move end once another action is taken, unless you have certain feats or abilities. So if you have a speed of 6 but you only move 3, but you take another action, your movement is done. It's over. Kaposh. But yeah, move action, extremely straightforward. And we see this little thing poking out is an action specific for my system, which is teamwork actions. Which basically, teamwork actions is a random idea I came up with, and pretty much every player gets it. So everyone gets 3 points per combat. This is just a thing. It refreshes after a new combat happens, blah, blah, blah. And I do have a teamwork thing that allows you to have 4 points. Point being, but teamwork actions cannot be used on your own turn. They must be used on an enemy's turn or an ally's turn, depending on the teamwork feat. And that's pretty much the thing with these. I obviously have a bunch here written out. But there's a lot, and honestly, some of these may be changed, some of these may be buffed, some of these may get removed later on, and I might add more. But for the most part, these are relatively straightforward. But also, a lot of these have certain effects that you need to understand the class abilities for them to really function. So, rather than going over teamwork actions now, if you're looking at the screen, you can just pause and just look at them. But those who aren't, when I go over classes, whenever I go over class, I'll specifically be going over their teamwork action as well. So if you really want to know what teamwork actions are, keep an eye on my Patreon. It feels rude to plug that. I don't like it. And then obviously I have 4-round action and prep action. I don't remember putting that down. Oh, right. No. Okay. A prep action is the thing where you're like, I want to wait to attack. I want to wait and attack anyone that enters anyone who opens the door, kind of thing. That's what a prep action is. And then a full round action, which I don't have that many of them, is just an action that takes your entire turn to complete. That's it. And that's it for the actions. Also, it took me a while to figure this out, which is why it's so low on this. Weapon proficiency. Prevents weapon penalty, which all the weapon penalty is for not having a proficiency with the weapon is you just roll a flat d20. Blah, 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 blah. You roll a flat 2d10 with no bonuses. You get no bonuses on your attack with a weapon you are unproficient with. Luckily, proficiency is really wide, so you don't have to worry about that too much. And I still wanted some kind of penalty for it, and I think this is the best way to do it. That's simple and straightforward. And will prevent people from wanting to just be like, I'm going to do whatever I want, kind of thing. I mean, you still can if you really want to. It's not likely to work. Combat. Oh yeah, this is just a thing that I have explaining what combats are. Combat should be... There should at least be one combat a session, even if it's just something small, blah, 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 kind of thing. Just advice stuff on what a combat is. Same with TPKOs and KOs, whatnot. Doesn't matter. But then I have talents, which I did say talents are what skills are in other systems. I just went with talents because I just wanted to. But I have specifically 2 modifiers for talents, which is the level modifier, which every level every level, each class gets a certain amount of talent points to put into talents. And these cannot go past your current level in points. And they're the most standard way to increase your talents. But then I also have class modifiers for your talents, because certain classes just naturally increase the talent. And I wanted these to be separate just so they are easier to track. That is the only reason they are separate. Because in any other circumstance, or in literally every circumstance, I don't think I have anything that specifies it. They are always added together when you when you're doing your modifier. They're just separate, so they are easier to understand and track, basically. Oh, yeah, I forgot I had that in here. Hold on. Next is Sundering. So, I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to have Sundering in my game. Obviously, I ended up having Sundering in my game, and the hardest part was just thinking about how I was going to end up doing it. So what I ended up doing is obviously Sundering is feet. You can't, if you don't have feet, you can't do Sundering. Simple as that. Oh, but can't you just do the plenty blah blah? No, I don't want to have to worry about it. If you want to do Sundering, go invest into it. Fuck you. I'm not holding your hand like you're a baby. You're already getting enough crap as it is. But weapons have an HP equal to all base and critical dies max numbers for their damage rolls. For example, my katana is a 1d6 1d6 damage and a 2d6 critical damage. So it's a 6 plus 6 plus 6. Why is that a 12? Holy fuck, I'm stupid. That's supposed to be 18. I'm so dumb. So that would be 18. But then you take that number and you times that by 3. So it would be 18 times 3, which is... Don't judge me, Eddie. My brain is not working right now. 18 times 3 is... Yeah, I would have gotten that wrong. 54. So the HP of a katana is 54 because it has a d6 for its base damage, a 2d6 for its critical damage, making it a 6 plus 6 plus 6, which is 18. And then you times that by 3, which gets you 54 for its HP. On top of that, you can increase your weapon's HP with the weaponsmith upgrades, gem infusions, which I don't know if I have gems do that anymore, or signature weapon abilities, which is just a thing that the weaponsmith can do. But with that, depending on the item size, because weapons have their own mechanic for their HP, but all other items just have a base thing, which is they have an HP depending on their size, which a fine item, the smallest item, gets 1 HP. Diminutive item 5, tiny 10, small 20, medium 40, large 80, huge 180, gargantuan 320, colossal 640. Extremely straightforward. I just gave him arbitrary ass numbers because fuck it doesn't really matter. Might change this later, but they're really just arbitrary numbers. I'm not going to be thinking too hard about this shit because I do not care enough. But on top of sundering, obviously the thing has to be with hardness, because every object, well, almost every object has a hardness to them, and for the longest time I wasn't sure about how I wanted to do hardness, to the point where I kept fighting on if I even wanted hardness in the game at all. Because at first I had it just be a percentage, and then a solid damage reduction, and blah, 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 blah. But now, the way I have hardness works, hardness is a reverse damage multiplier. Meaning, whenever an object's hardness, or whatever an object's hardness is, 2, 3, 4, etc., the damage is divided by that number. So, if an object has a hardness of 2, and you did 40 damage to it, you actually only did 20 damage to it. And then I have a secondary category called hardness bypass rating. So, this one is extremely simple. Attacks, spells, and abilities that ignore hardness will now lower the hardness by the rating. Ooh, excuse me, sorry. So, if an object has a hardness of 2, but you have a hardness bypass rating of 1, you lower the hardness of an object to a 1, so it no longer have to worry about it getting divided, because anything divided by 1 is the same number. So it allows you to deal full damage to an object, full damage or more damage depending on the object's hardness and your hardness bypass rating. Oh, also on that same note of arbitration, all objects have an armor of 60. It's just an arbitrary number. I just did a random number. I might drop that later or might raise it later. I don't fucking know. But for now, it's just 60. Might change it. I don't know. Then we got some grappling rules. And just like with sundering, grappling you have to take a feat for. Because, dude, if you want to grapple, invest into it. Simple as that. But basically, the way grappling works is you make an attack roll without a weapon, unless your weapon has grappling on it. And if you succeed, you grapple a target. Oh god, some of this is fucked up too, because I still had it as grappling just being a base mechanic. But basically the way that it works, if the target is one size category above you, they can move at half speed or rounded down. Creatures two sizes above you can move at normal speed. It's a simple logistical ruling. That's pretty much all there is to that. I don't imagine that's going to happen that often to even matter. While grappling, you can only make natural attacks, which natural attacks are just my unarmed attack. Instead of separating unarmed and natural, I just made it all the same thing for simplicity's sake. And I understand why they're separated, but I also don't agree with them being separated, kind of thing, you know? So that's it for that. Target loses dodge bonus, but the one who started the grapple does not. So you keep your grapple, or you keep your dodge bonus while you're grappling, but you force your opponent or your target to no longer have a dodge bonus, making them easier to hit overall. Creatures one size category above you do not lose their dodge bonus. Instead, they take a dodge penalty. What? Oh. Oh, I'm looking at this like, what the heck did I do? Why did I read it like that? No, I'm just an idiot. If your target is one size category above you, they still lose their dodge bonus. But as I said, creatures two size category only get a penalty. So a huge creature would get a -2, while a gargantuan creature would get a -1 and a colossal 0. So that at a certain point, does it really matter that they have a tiny little fly on them? No, not really. And that's pretty much it for grappling. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, criticals. So obviously with a lot of these systems, they have criticals, which normally what they end up doing is just the max the die, but it's not so much that I don't like that. I just... it feels so limiting, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So how I have my criticals work is, currently it's just an arbitrary number. I might change it, I might raise it, might lower it, I'm not sure yet. But currently it has an arbitrary number of, to crit your attack, must reach 7 over the target's dodge. So if a target has a dodge of 13, you have to at least get a 20 to land a critical hit. And it's simple, it's straightforward, and it's a way for to allow a bit more not consistency, that's not the word I'm looking for, a bit more freedom in getting a critical hit compared to just rolling a natural 20. Also, I have critical fails as well, which is 7 under. Don't know what they do. I don't have anything that involves a critical failure. It just is what it is, pretty much. Alright. Also, obviously, double one Snake Eyes is a critical failure as well. So, if they only have a dodge of 7, but you have a multiplier of 8, if you roll 1 on both the 10s, you still miss anyways. Because you rolled 1-1. So be careful with that. The 1% chance, but it is still a chance. Oh, right, and then I have the actual size category bonuses. I was tempted to do the whole might bonus deafness penalty thing that Pathfinder and D&D do, but I decided against that. Instead, I have it affect dodge, brace, and armor. So the smaller you are, the lower your brace and armor is, however you get a lot more dodge out of it. Meanwhile, in the opposite direction, the larger you are, you obviously get no dodge. You obviously lose dodge, you get a dodge penalty, but you get a brace bonus and an armor bonus for your size. Oh, and I have this specifically. Size effects are not a part of a creature's stat, and they are added separately. And that is a clarification on what the creature's stats are. I've not decided on this yet. It's just an idea that pops in my head every time I think about size effects. Is if you're the same size as the creature, you just don't get any bonuses or negative effects to it. But then that also has other implications that I'm like on. So not really worried about that one right now. All right, and now, so my system, as I said, I want to be a laid back thing that allows you to do things during downtime, and part of that involves gathering resources. And as you can see here, I have a list of resources. I have metals, which is stones, rocks, fossils, stuff like that. Wood, fiber, which is plant fibers and wools. Hide, animal hide. Bone, animal bone. Shell, insects and shellfish, shells, stuff. I also have gems, which are just magical items, basically. Then I have stuff like meat, fruit, vegetables, grains, mushrooms, fish, shellfish, spices, and eggs. And that's relevant because I have cooking in my system. And one of the main things for cooking is, unless you cook items, they count as the lowest tier, so you'll need more of them to actually feed your party. But if you have someone who can cook, they can cook high dish meals, and it'll be able to feed your party a lot easier. But, rituals and prayers are no longer a thing. Rest in peace, buddies. I thought of so much for you, and you just don't matter anymore. Say Lofi. Say Lofi. I do believe I changed this entire thing, because I had fishing stuff before I had my gathering role set up, which I'll go over my gathering in a different video. But yeah, you need equipment for certain gathering methods, and they will give you a bonus depending on what tier they are. E tier, D tier, C tier, B tier, A tier, S tier, blah 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 blah. But this is the thing that I believe all of this is wrong now. All of it is wrong, so I'm not even going to bother explaining any of this because it doesn't matter. Aha! Inventory. I also have a different sheet that I can go over with inventory too, but I believe because of how late I ended up doing this, inventory is relatively the same. So party starts with a 1 large sack, 1 medium sack, 2 tiny sacks, and 1 small sack for each party member. No, I did change that too. And I do believe I changed the amount of items too, because I have here that they can hold sized items, but now I just have it just be an item itself. Once again, have a sheet for it that goes into more detail, and it's different from this. It is not the same thing. Forging, also different, probably not like this. Don't even bother with it. But recently, I did these last 2 ones also last night. And that is travel time on the hex travel time and hex size, blah, 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 and age effects. So my system, because of how my friend said that I was doing, like, my system was perfect for hex crawl games, and I attached to that immediately, and now the world map is now a hex grid because it just makes sense. The way that my game is, it just makes sense for it to be a hex grid. Honestly, it makes sense for a hex crawl game. But the way that this works is a hex is 10 miles. Any hex is 10 miles. So, yeah, and with that, your party's base movement speed is 2 miles per hour traveling. You can do pace increases, but obviously I haven't written those down yet. But generally, it's going to take a certain amount of time to even get past 1 grid just walking about. And originally I was going to have these miles per hour be raised, but I decided to lower them to help encourage horse movement and griffins, because I have griffins now. As well as it allows for like more camping opportunities as well. It can allow parties to be out in the wilderness more often. And then here's another ruling that isn't really ruling, it's more of a hard suggestion. Towns on average are 4 hexes apart, aka 40 miles. And this is just a general ruling. It doesn't have to be a hard focus rule, but it's heavily implied that this is how you should be thinking about your system. Or your world is, if you have towns, have them be around 4 tiles away. 4 hexes away. Then I have travel is 8 hours. Can be maximum of 12 hours, but makes you fatigued. Any more, and you will take 10 HP in damage for every additional hour and become exhausted. And this is where I came up with what exhausted did, because I already had fatigue, but I didn't have exhausted yet, and this helped me clarify what it was and what it was meant for. Because I don't think I have any ability or spell or anything that forces fatigue or exhaustion, because I want them to be more like an environmental effect rather than a combat effect. And granted, they do affect your combat, so I mean, whatever. But then I also have difficult terrain, dangerous terrain, impossible terrain. Those are rulings that are going to be changing, so I'm not really going to go over them. But then I have age effects, which also are probably going to change, but this is what I have at the current moment. So a child, if you're playing a child character, you get bonuses to your speed, your movement speed, your dodge. Cardio is a talent for running, swimming, climbing, stuff like that. And espionage. Espionage is your stealth, your lockpicking, your pickpocketing, stuff like that. My talents are made to be extremely broad uses to help limit how many talents I actually need in the system. Because I don't want the Pathfinder thing where I have 40-something talents. I wanted to try to keep them relatively limited as I could. But then child characters also have penalties. They have a -1 to their might. They have a -3 to their advantage, which is your initiative stat, and a -5 to all knowledge rolls, because children don't know as much as they think they do. But yeah, once again, these stats are probably going to change, but I haven't decided yet. They might stay what they are because I like where they're at, but we'll see. Then you have an elder. If you're playing an elderly character, someone who's older in their age. Obviously, these are also soft rules too. You do not have to do this if you're playing a child or an elderly character, but they're to help role play a character better, basically. Because I know some people do like that. They love having a template for ages. But an elderly character gets a bonus to their Arcana and Faith checks, both their casting stats. They get a +2 to their Perception, because older people just happen to notice things that they really shouldn't. And then +4 to Knowledges, because they've lived a long time, so they should have more stuff. Obviously, that's not true in real life, but it's great for a template. Then for their penalties, they get a -1 to their Daphnis, their Dexterity, a -2 to Speed, their movement speed, and a -15 to Brace, their one-time damage absorption. And that is what I have on my base mechanics sheet at the moment. Whew. Man, that both took more time than I expected, but also less time as well. Because partway through, I was like, oh no, I can finish this in less than an hour. But before I started recording, I kind of knew that it was going to take more than an hour, if not 2 hours. Which, some of these, I forgot, one, they were completely changed and irrelevant to go over at this time. And two, a lot of them were a lot simpler to explain than I realized they were going to be. But that is the base thing for my system. As I said, I will continue to be making these videos. I'll be going over other sheets one at a time, and I'll be uploading them to my Patreon. If you would like to see more of those, or you just want to support me, because oh god, if you could help me not work at a grocery store, I would love you so much. But obviously not mandatory at all, and if you're not curious, don't worry about it. I might end up releasing them on my YouTube anyways, so just be patient. Oh, excuse me, sorry. If you want to watch it, but you don't want to pay me, which fair enough, honestly, more than fair enough. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed yourself, and if you did, please leave a like. And if you would like to see more content, please subscribe. I hope you have a very lovely day. Goodbye.